Good morning, ALC crew. Today's Monday, April 20th, 2020. 2020. Whoa. And here's what we're going to do this week. Number 1, your take responses. Number 2, your journal responses. 3, preview Act 4. And 4, this week's to-do. Number 1, your take. Staying connected through meaningful gestures. Your responses for last week's Your Take segment were truly inspiring. It was encouraging to read about how some of you are finding ways, special ways, to stay connected to the people that you care about. Here are some of your responses. Natalie from Period 3 says, although my talents are limited, I've been able to stay connected with the people that mean the most to me. Last week I woke up early and made a batch of some chocolate chip cookies to drop off at my grandma's, boyfriend, and aunt's house. Those are the people I would always see on a weekly basis. So not being able to is very odd for me. I have also been staying connected through FaceTime with my aunts, uncles, and younger cousins. Kylie from Period 2 said, right now I'm doing my best to stay connected to my loved ones and friends, but it is hard. I have been FaceTiming a lot with people to catch up and see how they're doing. My grandma's birthday is this weekend, so as a family, we are going to go outside of her house with balloons and posters and wish her happy birthday, while also maintaining at least 6 feet at all times. Things like these are small little gestures that go a long way in times like these. Michael from Period 3 says, I play a lot of Xbox with my friends. This keeps us connected because even though we're not together, we have fun laughing with each other and creating memories. Some meaningful gestures I have done are helping my parents around the house. I know it's stressful for them to work from home as well, so I stay connected with them by helping them out. Thank you to all of you who responded to this prompt. As many of you reflected, during these times, we are called upon to find ways to transcend our limitations, and in some ways we're jolted by the unfamiliarity of these new ways of staying connected to one another. And it may make us wonder, will we ever go back to the normal that once was? And when we do, what will that look like? It's kind of an F. Scott Fitzgerald moment. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. That must be how Gatsby felt, yearning to return to something that existed before, but now and moving forward may be fundamentally changed. Change. That is the focus of this week's Your Take. History shaped by crises. Lately, there's been a lot of talk about how COVID-19 and our response to it will alter the fabric of our lives moving forward. In a compelling article recently published in The Guardian, Peter C. Baker makes the claim, we can't go back to normal. And then he poses the question, how will coronavirus change the world? In it, he postulates, times of upheaval are always times of radical change. Some believe the pandemic is a once-in-a-generation chance to remake society and build a better future. Others fear that it may only make existing injustices worse. I've linked this article in Google Classroom. For our next Your Take segment, you are the thinker who will look to the future. On Friday, April 17th, we learned from our governor that Illinois schools will not return to in-person instruction this academic year. So looking to next school year, or maybe 5 or 10 years from now, how do you think life will be different? What major values and minor details will change? This is a big question that requires some serious out-of-the-box thinking. So if you're interested in earning an extra 10 points toward your semester grade, respond to this prompt in 3 to 5 sentences or via video response by this Friday, April 24th at 3:23 p.m. Now this idea, history and future shaped by crises, will be a guiding idea for our CW analysis coming up next week. So give this a shot, let me know if you need any help, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Next up is your journal responses. So Act 3 of The Crucible closes with a flourish of accusations, denouncements, fury, and frustration as the true colors of our characters begin to show. The first question we posed was, why are Judges Danforth and Haythorne so reluctant to believe Proctor's claim that the girls are making up accusations of witchcraft? Well, someone from Period 2 said, the judges were afraid to admit to themselves and publicly that they were fooled into believing lies that came from a bunch of women and girls. At this time, men believed they were superior. And in this case, they didn't want their masculinity to be hurt because of the fact that they believed some lies that came from women. Sama makes a great insight that gender inequality had a lot to do with the judge's refusal to consider the alternative. Kieran brings us back to the idea of reputation by saying they didn't want to hurt their image and reputations. If people found out they were deceived by these girls, they wouldn't be trusted and wouldn't be as powerful. Judges are supposed to make the right choices and always find out the truth and not be tricked. Judges are supposed to be able to call other people's bluffs and see when a person is lying. Great point, Kieran. It seems that Danforth's ego is getting in the way of his better decision-making. Ryan from period 6 speaks to this point by saying Danforth in this act is trapped in his own ego, which means he's unable to see the accused girls as innocent despite the evidence. He can't admit that he's wrong. He refuses to accept the truth because it would make him look foolish, and so he'd rather allow others to die to avoid that. Maddie from period 2 continues this idea. If Proctor's claims that the girls were lying about witchcraft was true, then it would look bad for both judges because they believed the girls earlier when they fainted and pretended that spirits were attacking them in court. So if everyone found out that they gave in to these girls' lies, they would lose their authority. Because they are both judges, it is most important for them to always be just and see through all lies. We have to ask ourselves, as readers, does this sound a little hypocritical? A system of ideologies designed and implemented to protect the collective ends up being manipulated by someone for individual gain. This moves us to our next question of Act 3. In what ways do we see the public court invading the private lives of the citizens of Salem? How do we see this happen in our world today, and can this ever be justified? Well, Kieran from period 3 says the public court invaded the private lives of the Salem citizens by crossing their boundaries. Danforth and Haythorne do this when they use their power to invade Proctor's life and throw a bunch of questions at him, which doesn't seem right because that's not the job of judges. Asking questions is for the police and detectives, not judges. Judges' jobs are to listen to evidence and cases that are given to them. Micah from period 2 responded, in this act, the court brought up charges that were completely unnecessary, things about Proctor to get the truth. But what the courts had brought up were private and didn't warrant the need for discussion. The courts brought up Proctor's beliefs, which seemed to be unethical and unneeded. A belief shouldn't have any effect on the matter at hand. I feel as though, in general, the world, and more specifically, the us, need to focus on facts and less on political and religious beliefs. There should be a distinction between personal and professional life. James from period 6 weighed in, this happens today with everyone's different views on God or a higher power. Since the world doesn't run on the Bible anymore, everyone thinks freely. I believe it can be justified. It's better to have everyone's views on a subject than just one person. Olivia from period 2 responded, this can even relate to drama. For example, I'm sure everyone has heard the saying, don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong. This doesn't just go towards teens our age. Many people feel the need to get involved in situations that they aren't involved in to make the person look guilty or not. That doesn't solve the situation. You need the problem to unravel itself. This all invites us to examine the mechanics of the society more closely and ask, what happens when the line between public and private become blurred? What happens when someone can be held accountable for a crime with no clear evidence? All of this comes to a climactic unraveling of events in the next and final act. Preview of Act 4. We begin Act 4 in a jail cell. Tituba, Sarah Good, we learn that today is the day that those who have not confessed will be hanged. Hale attempts to persuade Proctor, Rebecca Nurse, and others to confess to witchcraft, not because he believes they're guilty of it, but in order to save their lives. Meanwhile, in the neighboring town of Andover, there's talk of rebellion against the theological government and the whole system of witch trials. Which brings us to this week's to-do. So this week, here's what you need to do. Number 1. Read Act 4 of The Crucible. Remember to check out the theatrical audio performance and the film adaptation posted on Google Classroom if you prefer these formats or would just like to listen or watch as you read the text. Number 2, then respond to journal entry series number 4. The final set of journal prompts are as follows. Number 1, why does Danforth refuse to postpone the hangings? What does he fear? How could he be so resolute in sending possibly innocent people to their death? And then number 2, what was the result of Proctor's decision not to sign his name on the confession? Do you think Proctor made the right decision? Remember, you can respond either in written or video format. These journals will be due on Friday, April 24th at 3:23 p.m. And remember, to join us for our regular remote office hours this Friday, we'll have an AM and a PM session, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning, and then again from 12 to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Let me know if you have any questions. Remember, stay safe, stay focused, and stay connected. Catch you on the flip side.